WorldDenver talks today with Nicole Johnson-Hoffman, who is the general manager of the Cargill beef processing plant in Fort Morgan, Colorado. Welcome to WorldDenver Talks, Nicole. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
You know, I'm just really curious how you found, I know you're a trained attorney, and I know you've worked with Cargill and other facilities. How did you find yourself managing a beef processing plant in Fort Morgan, Colorado?
Yeah, well, it was more of an evolutionary career move, I would say. It wasn't anything that I ever had a long-term plan for. It happened over time. I spent many years as an in-house lawyer for Cargill in various capacities and in various locations and businesses, and then I moved around 2004. I moved to Wichita to work with our meat businesses where they're headquartered, and I spent a number of years getting really heavily involved in our meat businesses and found that I loved it. I loved the people, I loved the challenge of it. Intellectually, the meat business is fascinating and it's a very complex industry, and so that part interested me very much. But over time, I became more and more interested in food safety and the impact that the work we do on food safety has on the lives of people around the world. And the good that we can do when we make improvements in food safety, and the risks to people if we let down our guard. Mm-hmm. And eventually, I was spending a large amount of my time on food safety issues, and in particular, how we protect people from foodborne illness through the processes that we have in our beef plants. Mm-hmm. I was spending so much time on that really towards the end, and a minimal amount of time on legal work. When the Fort Morgan plant became available, when the current general manager retired, and they asked if I would be interested in that position, I jumped at the chance to work on food safety at the ground level and be part of the team that's really fighting for food safety every day. So that was the initial draw.
Describe the people who work at the plant. How many are foreign-born? How many are new immigrants? And what countries do they come from?
We have a really diverse population at the plant. We're over 90% minority at the plant, or diverse, depending on how you'd like to define that. A large percentage of us are Hispanic, so there are about 75% of us who are Hispanic. Many of them are first and second generation Hispanic. We don't track country of origin in our workforce, but anecdotally that's what we know. Mm-hmm. We also now have a growing population of people who came to the U.S. from East Africa, and those are fairly recent immigrants to the U.S. Many of them are refugees. I would say approaching 15% East African today, and then we have the rest of our workforce comes from a variety of different countries, many born here in the U.S., many born in other countries, and who've come to the U.S. for different reasons.
When I visited the plant, I saw people from Burma and Somalia, maybe some Ethiopians, Eritreans, and you know, it's not what you expect to see in Fort Morgan, Colorado. Are these populations? Did you deliberately recruit them to come and work? Did they find the jobs that were available at the plant? How did they come to be in Fort Morgan?
Meat production in the U.S. has actually been a business that's attracted immigrants really for over 100 years. So it's not unusual to find a beef plant that has a high number of first-generation Americans working in it. They're really attractive jobs for people who are just learning English skills and who are just developing some of the life skills that we need to be successful in jobs in the U.S. We also have management opportunities for people as they grow in their skills, but we have a lot of well-paid entry-level union positions in our plant that don't require those things, and so people tend to find us. But that being said, we work very hard to create a welcoming environment for people where not only are their differences respected, but also welcomed.
How do the relationships work among the various groups in the plant? I mean, do you find that there are issues between different groups of immigrants?
That's a critical part of my job, is helping to help our people work well together, regardless of where they came from or what their cultural traditions might be. So we do certainly see friction, as you see in any really well-integrated, diverse situation. So we have true integration. Our people work side by side with people who are different than they are, and there will be times when there are clashes. And it's my job to make sure that we minimize whatever friction there might be, help people work through it, and focus really on the work that needs to be done and creating an environment that's appropriate and welcoming for everybody. And so we do that. But we also tend to find that the friction reduces pretty quickly. The camaraderie of working together typically overcomes the differences for most people. And so over time we find that really warm friendships will develop between people who come from very different backgrounds. And it's not an obstacle, but they do have to have the opportunity to get to know each other first. And that's what I try to provide. So I focus on behaviors and ensuring that people have the right behaviors, and then I let people's hearts and minds follow.
So as long as they're following your rules and expectations and producing the work that they're paid to do, then the rest of it you think comes along.
Eventually. If you give people a positive working environment that's respectful, where we have consistent expectations about behaviors and working through conflict, people will ultimately have the chance to get to know each other and come to like each other typically. And we do find that it's a pretty exciting thing to see the warmth that actually happens over time.
What else do you do in that environment specifically to give people that feeling of acceptance and comfort level?
Well, one of the things we do is make sure that we have language resources available for people so that we can communicate with people in their native language. And as soon as we have critical mass of a group of people who speak a certain language, then we start to add management staff who have those language abilities. We make sure that in our health services department we're able to communicate with people directly in their own language, that we can give safety training and all of those things with people kind of on that one-on-one intimate basis that you really need to have. So that's, I think, probably the most important thing that you can do for people is respect to their language. And then after that, I think comes accommodating whatever religious needs they may have, making sure that you're showing respect for people's different religious beliefs. And then also dietary restrictions. We have a full cafeteria in our facility, and making sure that we offer the kinds of foods that people like. Those are the things that, just like you and I, when we go to foreign countries every once in a while, we crave a taste of home. It's important for us to show people that we understand what their cultural traditions might be, and we respect them and embrace them.